But director is always the drill sergeant.
Welcome, welcome very, very much to Conversations. We have for our guest now Sat Bhattacharya, is that it? More or less, it's a little bit of a tongue twister in that, and it's obviously bespeaks a roots back to India and so forth. And Sat, welcome so very, very much to Conversations. I'm really looking forward to this program.
Same here, thank you.
Sat is, for those who aren't aware, I'm wearing a badge here that celebrates one part of his life, but and that has to do with an initiative that he did after he had gone through very rigorous work academically in the field of cancer research. And he is a cancer researcher. Are you with the Sloan Kettering?
Yeah.
And other institutions have recognized the value scientifically of his contributions to understanding the dealing with the dread disease cancer. And for that, we all congratulate you and your colleagues making progress in that regard.
Thank you.
But this this badge that we have, he also reached out, and it was about 4 or 5 years ago we did
17. 4 or 5 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago we did a program with Sat to celebrate an institution that he had done or put together, and is gaining recognition and so forth. And it's I don't know the official title of it. What is it?
Harlem Children's Society.
Harlem Children's Society, by which he reaches out to a lot of the children of Harlem, or the children that, let's just say, might be in a disadvantaged situation economically and practically in the world, and giving them a heads up or a leg up to where they can become involved with the scientific institutions and so forth, where so much of what the current research is going on, and as a way of introducing them to what might be a better way of life for them other than what had been available to them, for which we really celebrate you on that as well.
Sure.
You were the initiator of that, and it's gotten a great deal of support among the people of Manhattan and the world, actually. There's a wider reach out for that, and we congratulate you on all of that, and also on the work that you've done. But this program now is one that we're going to do. We've done that program about the Children's Harlem Society. And we do mention, too, we have a background, because this day, the 5th of June, I hadn't realized until I spoke to you on the telephone, this is World Environment Day, which is like a major holiday celebrating environmental concerns and that sort of thing. And you have a deep, abiding sense of responsibility in that regard as well. I know from having talked with you on a number of occasions. And so that's all by way of introduction. And I welcome you again, Sat. It's so good to see you. We're going to be talking about another aspect of your life. But what other, in terms of before the film, we're going to be talking about you as a filmmaker of great note, okay, in my view. Me being in multimedia for about 45 years, following the difficulty of getting multimedia images in a way that can address the store of human knowledge in an educational way that is destined to become very, very important educationally to the whole wide world. So that's a major effort that we're involved with here in our own halting way. And you've taken the bull by the horns or whatever and have put together a major film dealing with, well, you say 10,000 years of human history in high definition on a film that we're going to show a clip of, and that's the major thing we want to address in this program today. What more could I add by way of introduction that it might be worthwhile making? You're going to be in this, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. I know you're very, very reticent to take the center stage, but this happens to be World Environmental Day, and this happens to be this young man's birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
Thank
birthday, dear Sat, dear. Happy
Thank
birthday
you.
to you. Right? And you're also going to be inducted. Let's just put the cherry on top of the birthday cake. Yeah. You're going to be inducted this evening into the Ethical Society
New York
on
Ethical Society.
New York Ethical Society at 64th and Broadway West, or Central Park West, and that's a major institution of advancing the human condition. And I congratulate you in advance on your induction into that that's going to take place this evening on your birthday.
Yes.
A major day this is for you, young
Thank
man,
you.
right?
And I'm delighted to be here with you.
Now,
as well.
what more can I do before, by way of introduction? We're not going to get to the film yet, but introduction that might be worthy of the people being aware of some of the background that is relevant to your background as we go into this very brief introduction of your life up to now.
Sure. So you did a marvelous job of introducing. So my background is I'm a scientist, a geneticist, and all my life over the last 30, 40 years have been doing that.
Yeah.
And then you rightfully captured the other organization that I founded 17 years ago called Harlem Children's Society for under-resourced, underserved students, high school students, undergraduate and graduate students, not just in New York, but it has spilled over to the rest of the country.
Has it really?
Yeah, in 25 countries worldwide.
Could you we don't want to go in great depth. We've got another program we did a few years ago on that subject and everything, but it's spreading to the world. And what are
25 countries.
25,
so
yeah,
the idea,
spread out a little bit how that idea of yours has gone and spread and what the idea basically is in terms of your having put it together.
Right. Well, I saw a serious underrepresentation of various folks, African American, Hispanic, Native American.
Absolutely.
And I thought that if I have to change something, I cannot leave my regular profession as in science and in the world of science, but maybe I can adapt the training of young minds. So I sort of evolved a hands-on approach to education so that they're skills based. So they learn some skills that they can use in regular life and that they are marketable. And in the process of learning that, they make themselves marketable, but also they learn the sense of discipline because many of these students come from challenged backgrounds.
Yes, right.
So, and many of them, because of the situations on the home front or the communities that they live, once you take these teenagers out and put them in an environment that respects them as individuals and give them a sense of purpose, they do amazingly well. And that's what had been my experience, is to pick some of the best and the brightest, but from poor backgrounds, under-resourced, underserved, train them, put them in contact with professionals in the field, either in cancer or environment or space or engineering or robotics or new ways of thinking, and they will do well. And so many of my students who started in grades 7th and 8th and 9th, many of them are already professionals in the field. 20% go to Ivy League schools, you know, and many of them they're all over the country in Harvard, Yale, Stanford, everywhere.
That's an incredibly on a pattern. If you think of a pattern for a whole society, that's a very, very good model for the whole society. Not only just a society of people within your immediate context, but it's a broad challenge to humanity on a very large scale. And a huge problem that confronts humanity, injustice in terms of the existing and inherited institutions, and how can we help in terms of alleviating the difference between those who've been disadvantaged by their environmental condition and those who had all the advantages and also then have all the heritage grants to Harvard and the choice schools and the advantages of those people whose families have been advantaged down through the ages from kings and whatnot.
Right.
And so forth.
And also it's very relevant today, especially, you know, I have a thing with Mr. Trump where I can train and retool the folks who are in the old time industries of coal and all. And there's big money to be made in new businesses with solar energy and wind energy. So these people have to be retooled, reskilled, so that they are compatible to for the future, which is good for the environment, which is also will provide them with skills and means to add revenue
I
into
don't
their
think
pockets.
Mr. Trump is terribly enamored of the as much as others. I would say he's voted against the climate issue, and he's just taken us out of the
I think
Paris Accord.
he did
now,
it for
some
different
people would say it
reasons.
could be better done, or
maybe he'll come around it.
Yeah.
So that's why I need to engage with him so that
you don't want to engage with the people like Jim Hansen and the people who are in favor of doing
them too. But he is the current president, so he needs to be engaged. And I think I know.
But why don't you get in touch with somebody really important instead of the mere president of the world?
Well,
I mean, why bother with a little body like that, a little person at the behest of the really powerful forces, and go to the president of the world, including the United States of America?
Well, I need his backing, and if through engaging
get in touch
him,
with junior achievement and things. No, I'm just making a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but also the film, because it's World Environment Day, I just happened to fall into it because I'm not a filmmaker, and the film is an animation film on climate change that I've been following from 10,000 years of human history across different civilizations in different countries to current times.
Yes, now we're down to the major theme of what we wanted to do with this program. We have a good full 50 minutes left to be able to discuss this fact. Now, you are a cancer research person. You were trained in the high academic discipline of science and so forth, and in that you have to be very exact on all your facts very carefully. If you did if you do experiments, the proportions of chemistry or something, they have to be exact in order to get and you become very interested in getting everything right within the discipline and the thing you're doing.
Right.
Now you've taken on, if I could, and that's a scientific study, and it's a way of thinking, and a respect for the truth.
Thank you.
Okay, in any way that you can get to it, but you do it with a discipline and not fudging things and not gilding the lily, as they say, in order to get some business thing going or some sort of thing that there's a lot of going on in the world, as you recognize. But so instead of doing that, what you've decided now in your career, and it's all well established, wonderful, congratulations on all the work and the recognition duly deserved and so forth in that film. But now you've decided to take on another little thing where you're going to have to be dealing with a number of facts, because you're going to present to the world a multimedia presentation of the past 10,000 years, which there are many, many facts that are going to be argued by all the historians and anthropologists and all whatnot. So do you understand what I'm saying? You're going to have to be doing some pattern recognition, if you understand what I'm saying, rather than the comforting zone of getting exact details on a particular specialized field. You must be thinking comprehensively about things, not just specialized, if you know, because that's a big division in terms of understanding the story of human knowledge and the people who are interested in elucidating and learning about it, right?
True.
So how did you make the transition from being an exact scientist to one who is able to take on such a huge thing as 10,000 years of human experience?
Yeah, well, it was accidental. it was quite accidental.
Yeah.
Actually, I hired someone, an animator, and I wanted to devise protocols and tell and develop storylines through animation for young kids for education of science. And one thing led to the other.
Oh, you did do that. Did you do something?
Yeah, that's what.
Did you put some things out that way?
Well, that was the intention. And this film is a product of getting lost and finding your way. So I started with that, and then this climate change started happening, and it started taking its own life in itself, and so. At the present, it's a very complex story.
Yeah.
We have at least an hour of done, and we've been sending it to various film festivals worldwide.
You have.
We have many awards.
You're
already.
working with people in Calcutta?
Yeah. So
there's many great talent. There's a great talent involved in making these films.
Yeah.
High definition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah. And you have the ability. You're from India originally, so you're enabled to deal with the creative talent that does exist within India.
Right, but also have to guide them, all the research that goes on, and the directorial way to tell a story.
Well, that's on the technical part of putting together a multimedia presentation, but the facts of the matter that go into what you're depicting is a matter of, aren't you having to get in touch with let's say, was it 1772 or was it 1776 that this thing happened back in the upper parts of Kashmir, or some fact that you're going to bring out in your. So you'd be in touch with anthropologists, political scientists, historians,
scientists,
scientists, and so forth.
So basically,
so you have an eclectic reach out to the human,
exactly.
the
I
intellectual
have to be
community.
comprehensive. So it's not just about science, it's all about also about the climate, about industry. So I've been following this story and as humans, how we have affected our own existence.
Why? Okay, go ahead.
And so we have to be careful how we enable ourselves with our interaction with the surroundings. And that's the basic gist. So it's not just about true facts, but also I'm trying to make it entertaining so the young mind, who is also highly advanced these days, also feel engaged. Already the California school systems want a film to be in their curriculum.
The
so
film of yours.
Yeah.
You've been in touch with them. We're going to talk about some of those details after we show the film.
Yeah.
We're going to show, let the people realize, an extended for television.
Yeah.
Most clips that you see of anything in television now last about 10 seconds.
Right.
It's just boop, 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 boop with 1,000 different things. You understand, right? And it's all very, very distracting by and large. Right. And it's very distrustful of anything that's got any linearity or learning or anything intellectual involved in it. And most of the Hollywood films that have been appealed to the consciousness of the population have been boy meet girl, girl falls in love with boy, boy falls in love with girl, and all these kind of things that have made up the bulk of the films that reflect human everyday life. You understand the history of television, of film and television isn't been given over very much. There's Nova and some other things that have tried to do that, but it hasn't very much been given over to the dealing with the store of human knowledge collectively. That is an imperative thing at this time of multimedia coming into high definition and everything, to get at the people of the world educationally. And it's a huge subject of transformation that you've decided to take on. If I'm putting words in your mouth, maybe set me straight.
Yeah, you're right.
It is a major thing that's confronting mankind. How are we going to get the people of the world interested and knowledgeable about the store of human knowledge, including political activity of the current, in a multimedia context rather than print?
Right.
We seem to be exiting a world of print, and so forth. It's just some thoughts.
Yeah, and the present shot that we're going to see is just 10-minute. So it's even a shorter version of the whole film, but it'll give an idea for folks to see what the film is about.
The whole film is completed in itself,
no,
or is it a work in progress?
It's a work in progress, and I personally think
you could
that
probably
it will
use
be a life. It'll be beyond my lifetime. So
okay, good. That's good.
There'll be 50 to 100 series, television series, or nowadays web series, and it'll keep on going even after I pass away.
It could set a pace. It could set a pace. What are the precursors to this that you've been able to draw upon? I mentioned Nova, or some of the things on public television that are really National Geographic and that sort of thing, that are really interesting and educationally relevant and well researched and not propagandistic towards selling some product.
So also the film is for a 5-year-old and a 90-year-old.
The film is.
Yeah, because everyone can feel engaged. The 5-year-old will get engaged with the media that is depicted and all the fascinating things that are going on. And a 80-year-old or a 90-year-old will see it in a way of as an educational experience. So it has to transcend the education as well as entertainment. And that's where we are going.
That's been a challenge.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to achieve.
Because people think if it's learning, it's got to be dull.
Yeah.
Then people have learned that. They've learned that often. You've got to go and do something dull in the name of education. You can't just go play baseball like you want. Do you understand?
Yeah. So maybe we can watch it and then we can.
Well, we could. I think, and they could set it up in the studio. They have to set it up, and it does have a title. The overall film.
Yes. Well, it is
it's a short,
long title. I'm calling it DR. Actually, from a French perspective, it is RD, but I'm calling it responsible development.
Okay.
But the French would like to say is, the other way around.
Say the words in French.
but
responsibility director.
Right, right.
I could
So,
fake it.
What I'm trying to head is that we have to be responsible with all the development that we do, scientific development, human construction, everything. So if we are responsible the way how we act as human beings, the climate change, the climate will automatically fall in place. So if we care about everything that we do around us, with all these science and technology and art and literature and everything around us in a responsible way, everything around us will be a little better.
I hate to bring it up and everything like that. The reality of what there is in terms of film and with the way film has been introduced into the consciousness and so forth, all of the learning has been by and large in the realm of books.
Right.
Stacks. Remember Stacks? Did
Yeah.
you ever spend a lot of time in the Stacks?
lot of
Getting,
time.
you know, and the literature, and it was literature, it was drawn out, and that's where the authority was in print.
Right.
We're now galloping into a multimedia world.
Right.
And that's a completely different kind of thing, but it's still, the facts are still important.
Right.
And it's a great. Are you optimistic or pessimistic, or is that too simplistic to
Well,
get a
I'm
bunch of istics
Yeah.
involved in terms of the human prospect? We have weapon systems now.
Well, I'm always an optimistic person.
You
if
are,
if
okay.
I'm not, you know, all the things that I do in life will just be futile. But I have to be an optimist, and leave it for the next generations to come. To take on. So
You don't think you can put it together within the rest of your generation?
Well,
Or
it has to be handed over to the next generation.
What is the time frame going? We've been here 200,000 years as a species.
And
You're
we can
going
live
to
many
deal
more.
with the last 10,000 up
Yeah.
into civilization,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty big sweep of things
Yeah.
and everything. But
But we also would like to go into space exploration and see how we can expand our living environment, maybe the moon or maybe the Mars and other places, but also take care of our Earth. We have still not explored the oceans yet.
No.
There's a huge land mass and water mass that has to be fully explored.
yeah.
So
Yeah, well, I'm a geographer, so I'm sensitive to all these kind of things, and that's sort of what I'm involved with in my life's work. And I'm very, very impressed by what you've been able to get done with this film, and it ought to be supported by one and all, and it ought to be mimicked or followed. But if you look at the course of entertainment over the long haul, could it become entertaining rather than just learning, you know, and like
well,
that.
it has to be a
And
bit
if
of both.
it does, it is not a good record because it's all been escapism for entertainment from a world that was not asking for people to be very more other than just in the mundane absolute necessities of earning a living and so forth. They had
Yeah.
to be concerned with that. Are we ever going to get beyond that where people can be concerned
Well,
with the larger
the
issues
times-
rather than the mundane issues of getting a job and making money and all those
Right.
kind of things
But
that
the
are
times
so
have-
in the saddle now?
Yeah, the times have changed. You know, the younger generation
Yeah.
nowadays with the electronic media and all the newfangled technologies,
Yeah.
the young mind, a teenager or even youngsters younger than that,
Yeah, yeah.
and the early in the 20s, they have been brought up with this new technology, and so the attention time span is so little.
Yeah.
So we have to engage that new mind in a way that they feel they are comfortable to feel entertained, because we have to keep them engaged.
Yeah.
Whether it's 1 minute or
But
10
it is
minutes or
re-
20
the-
minutes.
With all due
and then-
respect, the
and-
reality is really entertaining.
Yeah, but also
The
have
reality of
also
that
the
is really
education
interesting.
process as
yeah,
well.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
So,
So-
listen, what I think we ought to do is say if we can get that up, it's about 10 minutes. Now that's an eternity in a turn. Usually there's
It'll
6
go very
seconds.
fast.
No, it'll go. And then one last thing is, let's get it straight with the booth and so forth. We can keep the mic open. You could make a subtle comment here and there
Sure.
while the tape is being played. If everything's,
Yeah.
but if you want to just let it go, let it go.
Yeah.
It's 10 minutes, and it's again. The title of the film is what?
DR.
DR. Okay, so we're going to run that in now.
So that is the sound of two black holes colliding. That sound, and that was discovered last year. Through the awards that we have won so far,
Yeah, that's good.
and the various Nobel laureates, historians, archaeologists have sort of engaged. Even
That's
the
a
data
lot of your
banks.
talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
starts from water and goes out in the universe. It's Africa. Different African civilizations. There's the Sphinx before it is a desert.
These are all
Egyptian.
These
It's
are
a Rosetta Stone. And I show that's Napoleon there.
Indian commitment toward
That's the Indian civilization 10,000 years ago. That also was affected by tsunami and drying up of the rivers. There's also India, the Ganges. Chinese civilization. The Incan. The Mayas. The Mayan calendar. There's the Hopi civilization in Arizona. Let's come back to India. So this is the evolution of zero as it left India into Europe. And that's Fibonacci there.
That's the famous Indian mathematician.
It's Galileo. Galileo explaining his discoveries to the world. That's Kepler.
A lot of astrophysicists. Right?
And this is where industrial revolution starts happening. In England, the invention of the sewing machine.
Oh, right. Okay.
This is France during the early Renaissance. That's Oxford. That's Robert Hooke discovering the cell. That's again France. Will live a year. The invention of the steam engine.
That's a biggie.
Yeah. And then all the goods being transferred from the colonies and the impact on the colonies that left. So many droughts, people dying. And then child labor, industrial revolution was a cutting edge. London became black. These are the chimney cleaners.
Satanic hills.
80% of the children died while cleaning. Children were up for sale even in England and Ireland, as everyone was put to work. And the collieries,
Yeah.
and then wrought iron played a very important role in the industrial revolution. And then that's the first car. And then Siemens, that is in Germany. Siemens discovering the tram that we use today. Those are early tram cars. That's Toronto in Canada. So various folks who participated in the discovery process. And this is Graham Bell, who discovered the telephone. You'll see. He also discovered, so that's Graham Bell going to the National Geographic Society, and that's Graham Bell in New York, making the first phone call to Chicago. This is Best and Banting.
Who?
Best and Banting, who discovered insulin.
Oh, okay. Didn't know.
This is Philadelphia, the U.S. Constitution. This is Einstein with Rabindranath Tagore. This is Graham Bell looking for the bullet. And now we come to Trump Tower before the election. This is the United Nations where people are trying to figure out.
Dark
And then the
side.
temperature changing, rivers drying out. The snow caps melting. Its impact on the world. Shanghai. It's New York City. That's Sandy. That happened a few years ago. lights and rain.
Oh my Lord.
This is the Sundarbans, where the Bengal tiger is.
I've got a film about those tigers. There's really something else. They're huge. That's
Prime
Obama?
Minister Modi and Obama.
Yeah.
This is the Pope. He came out with his.
You like Pope time?
Well, lovely to see. He came out with this climate change a couple years ago. That's Varanasi, the oldest part.
Single step begins with at the river that
So this is an imaginary ship.
imaginary.
Yeah. So
Going off
hitting the path. That's the New York Central Park. The fountain.
You're thinking future, is that it?
Yeah, it's magical realism.
Wondering toward me, like, yeah, not
This is
wandering.
Washington and Abraham Lincoln looking over. There's a poetic sense.
That's Obama, huh?
Yeah.
Abraham
Canadian
Lincoln's
Justin
recognized
Trudeau.
around the world. Gurkha?
Yeah, that's the Indian president. That's the Indian president's house. That's the Indian parliament. The United Nations. It's a Pope. And that's Paris. The climate change summit that was held a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Now this is part of magical realism. Sort of.
Yeah. Doves of peace?
Yeah. These are whirling dervishes. This is all imaginary.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. The dreamer of the poet and stuff.
The ship transforms into the bird as it flies in the universe.
Yeah, right.
And it's flying across the galaxies.
Yeah. I think it's very appropriate.
And those are the two black holes.
Oh, those are the three started the film.
Yeah.
Now, I like that one. Oh, that's really, that's really beautiful.
Responsible development.
You want more graphics or not? Is there more
That's
graphics?
it,
To,
yeah.
Okay, well, boy, that's really something else. That's for
Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's wonderful. Don't you, bros? Yeah. Jocelyn, it's really beautiful. And you've put all that together. How does that come together? I mean, what's involved? You have animators. The ideas are yours, or with a team of people, or how do you put it together?
Well, the ideas are, of course, you know, I did research, but it is, it was an organic growth to the whole thing. And as I was doing more, so looking into the history of humankind from the beginning of human civilization, as in Africa and across the different civilizations in the Indus Valley, in the Chinese, the Mayas, the Incas, the Indians, American Indians, and then with you also saw the evolution of zero in India and how it was taken from.
Was that from that young mathematician? What was his name?
No, I'm coming there.
Yeah.
So the mathematician, Aryabhatta, Aryabhatta, the contribution of the number systems as we know today and the zero is attributed to the Indian civilization. And much of science and the discovery process would not have happened if it did not go. And the Arabs took it through their trade, and Fibonacci, who was sent as an ambassador of Italy, of Pisa, the town of Pisa, where there's the Leaning Tower of Pisa, was sent as Rome's ambassador to Algeria. And there he found that these people were counting much faster and doing business much smarter than the Europeans.
Progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, because of his tremendous influence, he took it to Italy and explained to the Pope, because without convincing the Pope,
When is this? What time period?
this was around 1600.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
1200, 1200 AD, before Renaissance.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then, of course, the Renaissance starts taking root,
Yeah.
and I show Galileo, and contributing to science, and the frictions that Galileo faced, and all science, all human progress sometimes have to fight with dogmas.
I think so. I can remember, I've used, if I'm not mistaken, because I've done a lot of reading along the lines of what you're talking about and everything like that, but when it took the creation of lenses that were being developed by others.
Exactly. So
in
that's
Europe
also I've shown.
that made possible
Yeah.
Galileo being able to observe accurately the orbit
Exactly.
pathways
So
of
I've
Jupiter.
Actually, so
And
that's
it
what.
could show that we were not what the summation was
Yeah.
of that.
So that's what I've shown as well, because the lenses played an important role.
Yeah, right.
And also
One thing builds on another. Yeah.
So I also showed the Renaissance that happened in in Italy and France and all the other places. Then I've shown Kepler, as you saw.
Yeah.
Kepler also developed lenses, and he was the first man to invent glasses that we see. Reading glasses.
Thank you, Mr. Kepler. It's much easier this way than being blind. Yeah.
True.
No, but
And so-
but when he did that,
Yeah.
Galileo anyway, he's credited with it. I'm talking
Kepler.
Galileo now,
Yeah.
who was the first. It seems to me, he was a prominent feature, a prominent person and everything. But he came up with the fact that it showed clearly to him, in terms of the astrophysics, that we were not, the Earth was not, the center of the universe.
In the Western
Now
world.
in the universe.
Oh.
The Earth was not the center
Yeah.
of the universe.
But that
that
discovery
we were a distant,
was already known at least 2,000 years ago.
no,
in India.
I'm talking about known scientifically, not by some mystery story or something.
No,
or
not
some
mystery. There are calculations that are still valid today.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so,
tell me about that. It showed that we were
even
not the center
The
of the
turn
universe.
of the century,
Uh-huh.
that is like 2,000 years ago, it was very well known in India through mathematical calculations. The distances between the different planets, the differences between the galaxies,
But 2,000
how
years
the
ago,
Earth, how
2,000 years ago, just yesterday compared to Galileo.
well, Galileo is
The point being
around
is it
1200
really,
AD.
yeah, but the point being is that when they got their sense of identity, and a lot of creation stories, religion, and things like that, that we are the people, we're the center of the universe.
The chosen few.
We're the chosen, yeah, that idea. It messed up the sense of identity
Exactly.
of people.
So that's what.
And the point being, in a certain sense, we may be at a time where our identity, set up with all of the political context and everything by which we've operated this planet since the Enlightenment, or since that we may be coming to a time where so many of the premises by which we get our sense of identity, get a job, get to work, do your money, get your thing, in the political structures and the economic structures and the political way in which we form capital and distribute demand, and all of these kind of things, we're coming to a time of the realization that it's not the center of the universe, the context in which we've evolved. We need something new, or we're coming to a liaison with something new, just as we were coming to something new when Galileo put us not at the center of the universe, and we haven't gotten to that yet. The world has not gotten to that yet.
That's the whole premise is,
or they can't
because
even
we
accept
put
it.
too much emphasis on the human self, but humans have to take ownership of the fact that we live amongst the living and non-living in this
That's the
planet
sense of
and
ecology,
the universe.
absolutely.
And so
It's
everything is equal, has to be treated as equal. But as humans, since we have more control of our intellect and mind, and to come up with new technologies and new inventions, and how it affects not only us but everything around us, that affects us in a indirect and direct way, that climate change is just an outcome of the human processes. And so we just have to sit back and see what is a better way of using technologies. Either it is technologies that changed the world through the Industrial Revolution, the first, second, and third. Now we are in the fourth Industrial Revolution. But even the fourth industrial revolution that we are now, we are sort of beginning the fourth industrial revolution of high technology, of big data, of HoloLens, of robotics and all. How this will impact the human, not just the human condition, but also the immediate environment around us, and also the planetary systems, universe,
and the social
because we are
organization.
going to explore the universe pretty soon. We're going to settle in other planetary systems, whether it be Moon or whether it be Mars.
That's a big jump.
But also we have to look at how we can realign ourselves in our present world.
But how about James Joyce, who's a great poet, right? And James Joyce had Daedalus say, "History is a nightmare," one could add, "of injustice. It's always been unjust in terms of the social order, with a few people living, Caesar in Rome, or the king after the fall of the Roman Empire, or Nebuchadnezzar, or living in palace, eating off golden plates, and the people wallowing around more or less in the mud of poverty. It was a hard struggle, and they were only doing what they had to do almost as slaves throughout most of human history."
Yeah. So that has
now
been
we may be
always
coming
there.
to where that does not have to any
there's
longer be the case.
always
Yeah,
this-
that's been the case.
Yeah.
That's like saying we're the center of the universe building. And that universe, that's the way, it's zero sum. For one to win, somebody else has to lose. There's not enough. There's scarcity. Always will be. Some people have to get down in the gutter and clean the gutters and do all the hard work and all of that. And that's the way it has to be, because we're limited in terms of being able to supply a decent way of life for everybody. You can't have that.
Yeah.
But
So
they'd
there's
be
always
liberated
this
from
struggle
those things.
between the have and have-nots.
Well,
and the
yes,
people
but in a
with
new
the
way. There's enough for all. There never has been.
So there's
at
always
the level of capability.
Yeah,
You
there's
couldn't have
always
done-
so that's why we have to put in the laws and rules in place so that the folks who are in the have-nots are protected, as well as the folks who have the haves.
I think we're going to have to go to where everybody is going to become a have. Now, that's something that seems it can't
Definitely.
be. You've got to have the lowly class. You got to have the people who clean the sewers and do all the hard work, and they will get down in the mud in the mines and risk their
well,
life.
it can be.
In
That's
order
where
to
robotics comes in play, because pretty soon all those tasks.
I
will be
wanted to
performed
bring
by
that up.
robots.
You didn't get into that very much, but it's not only information technology that's coming to a crescendo. As you well know, you couldn't have done this 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
It's a crescendo, and it's coming exponentially, you'll understand
Yes,
from
yeah.
mathematics.
So all the drudgery that you just mentioned, someone has to clean the floors, and someone has to clean the windows or do the hard work. Some of that are slowly going to be taken over by robots.
Well, now wait a minute.
And also artificial
Yeah,
intelligence.
but that's a big transformation from the information technology, and it is going in Niagara proportions into not only information technology, spreadsheets and things like that, or middle management things and bookkeeping and everything. It's going into robotics, as you said, and it's going exponentially. And the robots
and artificial intelligence.
and artificial intelligence, and they're going to have the robots doing what human beings had to be done to get production, the labor contribution to production, which mostly had to be done at the behest or the need of just avoiding starving to death. The reason they had to go and do something to serve the interests of the people who lived in the palace was to do something in order so they get a little bread to feed the kids. It was always not enough.
True.
Okay. Now the robots are going to take over all of these functions.
What that's where we have to
And
have,
it's gonna-
and that's where the term development and responsible development comes in handy, because
Okay.
it's not just the industrial revolution that we have understood. It's not the first industrial revolution that actually I showed in the film.
Yeah, I
with
didn't
all
understand.
the smoke.
I didn't understand that you had 6 of them. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I understood the beginning with the steam engine, and
Right.
in Europe.
So the
by and
steam
large.
engine, then London almost became black in
Yeah.
the early 1700s.
Yeah, but what were the other 6 things? I mean, you could have a break when you discovered agriculture around 10,000 years
Right,
ago. That was a
right.
big Neolithic break.
Yeah.
But I don't know what
But
other
agriculture
industrial
also
revolution
does,
was there.
and also with the modern technology, say 50 years ago,
Yeah.
when we overuse, products, fertilizers or pesticides and insecticides.
Yeah.
Overuse of anything is
Yeah.
bad. It
Yeah.
depletes the soil of its.
Yes, it does.
Of
Yeah.
its.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
where responsibility comes in. That's
Right.
why I think this is my
Yes, please.
would be my contribution. I would like to convince the United Nations and all the your president heads of state to use the word responsible development instead of just climate change. Climate change is an outcome of irresponsible development.
Yeah, but
So we
okay.
as human beings
No.
have to own up to our own responsibilities of all the inventions and discoveries that we make and its effect on humankind and also the environment.
That's a huge charge,
Well,
and it's
so-
a very important
so it
one,
is
yeah,
a more
particularly for the
active-
leadership.
It's a
yeah.
more active title
Yeah.
than climate change. Climate change just talks about what has happened and what we see, the negative impact of the human race. We should figure the positive. We have to think about how responsible can we be now, so that we don't change ourselves and the climate around us, so that we have this climate change, or whether you call it global warming. See, before 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, the common word was global warming. People don't use that as much now. People use climate change.
Well,
Here,
they're
I
synonymous
have an
in-
offer to
yeah.
to all heads of state and all folks, decision makers, to start using the word DR, responsible development. And it has an impact that you
Is that
have the
why
power.
D is responsible? Is
Development,
R?
but I flipped it
Yeah,
because
but why?
RD doesn't sound. it
RD
is-
sounds like who's that guy that had the moon? The kid from outer space.
I know, but
What was that
sometimes,
famous
sometimes
movie?
In the lexicon and the way how words sound,
RD is research development.
yeah. So
It's short for RD.
yeah,
and,
but so I'm calling it, and in French actually it is RD. So I've used it in a French perspective. Responsible développement.
You're
So
trying to understand the French?
no.
Good luck. No, I'm making a joke. They're wonderful, the French. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Their contributions are enormous. Yeah.
but so that is a positive twist to this whole process that we are calling climate change.
Yeah.
Climate change is an act, or it's an outcome of irresponsible development.
Okay, now that is done. That thing has been led in the early stage. I'm a geographer. I've been interested in these climatic relationships and all that kind of stuff, and talked to all kinds of different people trying to get some understanding of what's going on. But Jim Hansen was the one who first called it. Al Gore called it an inconvenient truth and that
Right.
sort of thing when he was being cheated out of the presidency way back at the turn of the century. We had to live with that kind of thing and everything,
Right.
and all those kind of things. But he called it. Jim Hansen called it, and he's now being he's being now attacked because he is in favor. And there's another one, McCain. Is he the guy who ran for president, a
Yeah.
Republican? He also takes this. Well, he said that the energy problem is probably going to be solved or will not be able to be solved, global warming, to keep from the worst effects of that, without the use of atomic energy for electricity development. Now, the people who are environmentalists very often just stop at that point and say, no, it's an evil thing. It makes bombs and it's destructive. But it may well be that the source of energy for the electricity that has to run much of the economy world, including the robots
Yeah.
going around doing stuff for us and everything,
Yeah.
could very well come from the tapping into the energy that is already contained in the, let's say, Trident submarine fleet of the United States of America, with which they intimidate the world.
Yeah.
And North Korea tries to do that now in a halting way.
Right. Well,
But it
maybe
we'll have to put
Senator McCain has some ideas.
No, Jim Hansen. He's the father of global warming.
Right.
He was the first one who called it to attention.
But nuclear energy to supply world's energy is not a terribly bad thing. Actually, France, I think it is more than 50%, 50 to 60%.
70%
of
the
French
electricity in the
electricity
country
is
of France
produced
comes
by
from
nuclear
atomic energy.
reactors.
Yeah.
So if you have
Yeah,
if you
but
have
they-
the right checks and balances, and I don't think nothing is falling apart in France.
No, I know.
And the same thing can be said
Well,
in
we're
Germany and other places as well, and also in India, in Canada, and also in the U.S.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it got bad rap after a nuclear holocaust. You know, you don't have
What
to.
nuclear holocaust?
You know, like the bombs that we dropped in Hiroshima and
Well, that's
Nagasaki.
the weapons. That's
Yeah.
the weapon. Well, that's
So
the thing. We're
that's
going to
the
have to.
whole- So we have to, maybe we have to have the checks and balances, at least for some time, as we go and start using renewable energies like solar, wind, and other forms
Maybe
of
we
energies.
don't have to go and besmirch the environment. We can, and it'll create a lot of jobs. Everyone wants to get
Yes.
jobs. So you got to
So
have jobs
that's
for
what-
people to get money to
Yeah.
buy bread.
Yeah,
and
and that's
get
what I
food.
think the present president, this is what I think. Is my, and if the president is listening, I would offer
I would
our
doubt
help.
if he's listening to
No,
public access.
I
He
would-
might, though.
Yeah.
You know.
So, well, with the Harlem
Could
Children's
we
Society.
tweet something right now?
Well, you know, with my Harlem Children's
We
Society.
open the minds of all the viewers of this program. Tweet Mr.
Including
Bush
the White House.
now with your dearly thought, carefully constructed criticisms or compliments. Okay.
Sure.
Go,
So,
use
but,
the media.
But with the Harlem Children's Society,
Yeah.
we have trained young minds, and so that they're totally skilled and they become marketable. This is what actually should be done with the folks in Middle America
Well-
and other places that he thinks that the jobs are being lost. What happened? Now we're getting a little politics here.
Yeah,
what
well,
happened
that's
in this
all right. The
election?
jobs are
and
all
which-
about
which
economics. That's the
actually
major
both
thing, yeah.
President Trump as well as Senator Bernie Sanders were raising the same issue of poverty and people not having jobs.
That's been the condition of the world
But
since
it
the
was
beginning
even
of
worse.
civilization.
What we just spoke about a few minutes ago between the have and the have-nots has increased whole lot. So the have-nots have become more poor, and the
I don't think
possibility of
so.
some of them to realize
No,
not only
I'm
the
gonna
dream
argue
but
with
also
you.
the American dream is just falling apart.
No, I disagree with you. I think the if you want to get to the real grinding poverty, the disgusting, just go back in history. Most of the people were huddled around a little campfire, and they were just dying at 10 years old, and they were living in a rock. They find a rock and a thing, and it was so.
Yeah,
They
so
didn't have any of the benefits of modern
so that's
technology.
that's why as that's what I've shown in the film, that as humankind has come up with new technologies
Yeah.
and inventions and discovery processes, our lives have gotten better. We use the
Thank
telephone,
you.
we have
Absolutely.
the internet, we have
Can you
medical
imagine
care.
the-
You know, when someone actually last time you raised that your father passed away when he was very young.
48. That was the
48.
average age for a man
Yeah.
born in
and because
1900 was 48 years
penicillin
old.
was not discovered.
I know there was no
right?
penicillin,
So-
no streptokinase to fight heart attacks.
Exactly,
yeah.
and so humankind
It's improving.
is improving. Now, sometimes we pay a price for it, but those price we have to see that we have proper checks and balances with rules in place and how the rules are enacted and impacted on other people.
Well, we have the
so that
political development.
we develop ourselves as a responsible human species that take care of us and our environment.
But we may be confronting something else. I don't know if you can remember. I can't. I've tried and I've asked some friends, but I can't remember what it was like to be in the womb. But I'm told by the people who can measure these kind of things that it's a nice, warm, beautiful, comfortable
Well, I
place
wish I was
where
there
everything
to
is
remember it.
provided, and it's a beautiful context in which you are in the womb, and it's and you're getting stronger, and you're in the womb, and it's
Well,
warm,
maybe
and
it's coming.
nutritious, and everything is taken care of, and everything like that.
Maybe in the
and then
future.
what's happening though is it's getting close to what they call the 9 month in a human being, and you're going to be put out into another world.
True.
Now, humanity collectively is the image for humanity is like a womb in the infant in the womb. We've been developing within a context which is being technologically altered beyond all recognition into something brand new that makes possible what could never be possible, justice for all, so that you have 200 trillion cells in the human organism, something like that. Yeah. Every cell has an individual quality. They all work together as a system, right? So you got the system. Human beings are so unable to realize their full potentiality because they're being used as slaves, more or less, and so forth. But we're going to believe we're coming into a new relationship.
Actually, you
not
gave me
political,
a new thought right
not
now.
Not political. Cosmic. We're coming into a new relationship evolutionarily in universe.
Yeah, but you gave me a little thought
A little thought. That's a big thought.
No, now you know what you give me.
We got to keep talking like this.
So, so human beings, you know, like developing in the womb of a mother,
Yeah.
is just like human being. What we do to live in the womb of Mother Nature. Mother Nature is our mother.
Well, that was
And
another context. It was
so
200,
if
but it
the
wasn't
womb-
10,000
If the
years
womb
ago.
becomes irresponsible, we destroy not only the womb and that little child that is growing, but also the mother.
It's a miracle that we were able to get through it all. Yeah,
I
that
think
we
we
could
will,
have. Yeah, no,
but
but
we
I
just
don't
have
know.
to-
The weapons are you could do it scientific. You're good at getting scientific facts and writing them down. If the weapon systems that exist now, mostly at the behest of the United States of America, who thinks they can run the whole world, okay, and have a model out of the Enlightenment that is good for all the world, the Western model and so forth. If they were to be unleashed in a spasm of hatred, like something comes out of North Korea, or we can't buy it there, and they were to be unreleased, apparently, unlike all of human history, it would mean the end of our entire species. Do you think that's a correct assumption of the capability of the weapons of
think in a
destruction
more,
with which
little
we've
positive-
intimidated each other
Yeah, but the
throughout
thing
the
is
whole
that
process?
intimidation process has persisted ever since the beginning of human civilization.
200,000 years,
People,
apparently.
you know, we as human species have done good. We've come up with new inventions and discoveries, but sometimes we've also gone bad and done
Well, that
tremendous,
evolution
you
works
know,
that way.
And so
Evolution works that way,
right,
does
and
it not?
therefore, you
Yeah.
know, like there was World War I, there was World War II, there is new wars, and there are new ways of destroying, but also on the flip side, there are new ways to create. Sometimes the good and bad are just the two edges of a knife.
Beyond good and evil, I'm sorry. One of the problems is in this universe, there's not enough time, much less on this set. There's not enough time to get into all the implications of what is being done. I congratulate you enormously, sir,
Thank
on
you.
such a very, very well-led
Thank you.
life.
It was
that
a privilege
continues,
to be
and
here
it should
today.
be for all attention to this young man and his creation of a use of the multimedia for getting in ways that can be understood correctly and so forth in terms of the understanding to the store of human knowledge as best we can do it in terms of institutionally structuring our institutions by which we interrelate, that we may actually be at a time of liberation from the human condition that we call
Absolutely.
history.
Yes, thank
So
you.
that's what I was hoping would be the case, but we've run out of time, my brother. So
Thank you.
happy birthday to you, Sat.
Thank you. World,
Right,
happy
let's
World
wish
Environment
everybody
Day.
out in the audience happy birthday to you. You don't have to sing it all because I'll drown you all out if we do that. But thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And all good luck on being inducted into the Ethical Society. That's a great honor. And thank you for all the good work. We got to
It's an honor to be here as well in your show.
We got to keep relating like this.
Sure, absolutely.
That's the end of the program. Thank you for viewing. We're coming back again tomorrow. Thank you very, very much indeed. This is just the beginning of a beautiful friendship, Sat. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Over and out for now. Okay. There you are, social entrepreneur and filmmaker.
What did you think?
20 seconds.
You got 20 seconds. You're still on the air. Say
Oh,
something.
really? Okay.
Say something quick. Do not tell me I'm source
thank
of
you.
your knock
Thank you to be on your show, and also the management that has gone on to put it. You know,
Okay,
we
you can
have
stop
a young
now.
lady.
You can stop now because it's the end. You know, you don't have to top or think or anything. It's all over.
I wanted to talk to you about something.
Yeah.
So what did you think? And no, I meant reaching
Did
out
you
to
like
Trump.
the play? Did you like the film?
Never heard of Video.
Yeah.
Look into it.
Yeah.
The production are very bad. It's about September, October this year. If that is
But you know, people have always projected the world will come to an end all the time.
No, it will not come to an end. It will create havoc on the earth.
I want to see if I
It
can
will
guess
not
this.
touch the earth.
Yeah.
But it will create earthquake, tsunami, tidal wave, and a lot of havoc on the planet. If that is what they predict.
Uh-huh.
It is by the Sumerian.
Hmm.
I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, I know Sumerian.
Can you give me the disc?
It's on their
You
on
can-
the stoves.
The disc?